Nick runs our R&D department. He's got a large team of developers. They spend each and every day trying to not just support our existing customers, but try and add new features into Landfolio. The biggest initiative over the last couple of years is what we internally call our framework solution, which is the building blocks behind the Botswana portal. So, Nick, over to you.
Thanks, Bill. Morning, everybody. There we go. Antonia, thank you very much for a fantastic demo. It's never easy to step up and present, and it's wonderful to have to follow the Honourable Minister and his keynote, which really set the scenes for what is to come. So, yeah. What you've seen is the description of the project and a demo of the Botswana portal. I'll be going through some of the underlying technology that has driven that particular initiative and talking about where we go from here. So briefly, when we talk about a portal, what we're talking about is an interface onto a larger system underneath, where we expose through a doorway a set of data or a set of capabilities of that system. If you think about it, behind the scenes, when you sign on to your internet banking profile and do a little bit of transactions and you see your portfolio, there's a whole big system behind the scenes that the banks use, of course, to do all of the money work. You seeing your subset of relevant information and capabilities, and a mining cadastre portal does the equivalent of that for a mining cadastre system. For broadly, the flow of the process, which Antonia started out showing, is that you would have a portal allowing for an application for a license. Behind the scenes, that would create the license or assets object that would trigger business rules. If you're a Landfolio guru, you know what that means, the bits that fire off the creation of action, setting properties, so on and so forth. And it'll send a notification to someone internally saying, hey, there's been a new application that needs to be now responded to and worked with. There's then typically, through the back office system, an evaluation process where that submission is reviewed, and that obligation for an internal user or action needs to get addressed. There's then an internal processing step, and a next action eventually will become available for the portal user to be able to interact with, and the system will then send a notification to them saying, hey, there's something you need to do, there's an obligation you need to meet. And they can then sign on to the portal and submit, see that particular obligation and submit relevant documents or payments against that. And then you have back to the back office user a receipt of that. So you have the sort of interaction that takes place through the portal. Now, this is not a new thing. We introduced Landfolio, the e-government portal platform, roughly 10 years ago, and as this public-facing extension of Landfolio back office, which provides this investors and license holders with this visibility and transactional capability. It's been a configurable off-the-shelf system that provides a higher level of user interface customization than back office does. And it's been implemented successfully in over 10 jurisdictions around the world for various clients of ours. Conceptually, it has a modular design. It's got the ability through our configuration tools to set up pages with that show static content, that show maps, that show dynamic content retrieved from Landfolio, the Landfolio system, and it's got these transactional capabilities. Each page is derived from a page type in the configuration that determines what can be set up on that particular page for display or interaction. And you've got various menus that can be set up to allow navigation between the pages. We can set up roles or memberships to decide who can do what within the system. And There's representation of companies or people. So if you are an agent or an employee for a legal entity, you can interact with the system on their behalf. It's got payment gateway integrations, branding for client needs, and it's built using web forms technology, which is the same technology that we use for Landfolio back office. It's been successful and will continue to be supported for a number of years because we have these loyal clients who've made use of the system. So why have we gone ahead with Framework within that context? Well, we felt we needed to address a bunch of needs that for our market out there, and for us to move to some newer technologies. So we wanted to be able to have a fresh, more modern look and feel with improved user interface layout, better styling options. We needed to be able to set different banners, logos, fonts, and colors through CSS across the site. That's a technical term for the tooling that's used to set how a site appears rather than what content is served out for it. You can see a couple of examples there of some of the sites that we've been building, and there are a few more as well. And you can see the variation in the content as well as the appearance of those sites with these slides. Technology-wise, we have moved from the web forms type application that I mentioned earlier, where essentially whenever you click on a submission or a button of some kind that causes an interaction, your browser then goes to the server and says, hey, there's this that's happened, and the web server then says, oh, okay, I'll build a whole new page for you and serve it back for you with that interaction. You guys are used to that sort of interaction, but you're also used to, no doubt, the interaction that we've now moved to, which is a single page interaction, where the page that you're dealing with is relatively static, and portions of that dynamically change based on how you're interacting with it. So only subsets of the page refresh. You have your instructions are sending requests through to the server, AJAX requests, the information is being updated through on that page along the way. And that creates this more interactive feel. We've also created this increased site configuration capability, where that allows us to build sites that guide users to success, allowing the creation of these fully featured portals with transactional capabilities. So there's a bit of a flow chart there where you saw that in Antonio's demo. You decide what you want to do today, and you're going to apply for a license, and then you get taken through to choose what type of license, what commodity, and then you go through to the application. All of that's a fresher approach. Significantly as well, the application is responsive. That means that regardless of whether you visit the portal on your phone or a tablet or a PC with different screen sizes, it will adapt what you see based on the device. And that's both a modern approach and allows us to have cleaner, simpler interfaces when you've got less screen real estate. The application is also fully multilingual from the beginning. We built the ability to have any text element be able to be translatable into one of many different languages, and the user then gets to decide which language they wish to interact by. Obviously, that needs to be pre-configured, all the different terms for all the different places. We also support left to right as well as right to left languages for some of our markets in the Middle East that require that. So Framework has all of these new things, plus all the good things from the previous e-government portal that overall enables the full transactional capabilities for applications and portfolio management, the spatial data display and capture, including the first come, first serve spatial validation checks, online payments, transparent public sharing of cadastral information, all enabling open public participation in the mining cadastre process. So let's go down a little bit more detailed into how we build up a site, what all the little bits and pieces are that create it. From a systems point of view, Framework a framework site sits on top of Landfolio. It's not a distinct, entirely separate system that operates on its own. You need the Landfolio core system behind the scenes with a back office that's used to manage interactions with the system by licensing officers and so forth. But alongside that, the back office application, we've built out over a number of years now an application programming interface, an API, using RESTful technologies that enables both us as the builders of Landfolio, as well as third parties, to build out applications against the Landfolio core. And we've gone with that with Framework. It sits as a separate site, or Framework sites sit separately and interact through to the core system via that API. It has got its own database on the side, but it's dependent on the data within Landfolio and the business processes that interact with that. So, unlike back office, there's no out-of-the-box user interface for Framework that has to be designed, decided what the different actions are as a collaborative process with our clients, and through that, our business analysts and our systems analysts are able to put together the site by adding pages and the contents to those pages and deciding how the navigation and behaviors between the different pages and elements work. That page content is built out of sections and containers, which are used to set up the layout and the positioning of all of the different pieces of content and functionality, which are in turn then provided by what are called widgets. You've heard the term used, especially if you're an economist, and hate how it's been used in other areas. But yes, a widget is a functional piece of in the system, which is then arranged in these containers in the different sections. Widgets, apart from providing that, can also be triggers to behaviors, and I'll get through to that in a little while. So if we were to look at that site, and you may recognize that as being an iteration of the Botswana site we saw earlier. If you look at the yellow dashed borders there, you can imagine these different sections that have been used to line things out. So across the top, you've got a section that runs that contains that welcome user and that apply for license button. That's one section with two containers within it. And then you've got other sections below, and the containers are the holders within that. Then you've got the actual display and functionality, and those are the widgets. So the first blue box you see in the top left is what do we call it? An HTML content widget, which is used to display that static text. Alongside that, you've got a task widget, which allows for navigation through to the apply for license page. Further on down, you've got what's called an asset list widget behind the scenes, but that's been set up to display search results to give you your particular portfolio of licenses that you're looking at. So all of those bits go together to create these pages. We then have behavior, which fires so that when someone clicks on that task widget, like that apply for license, that click initiates a behavior to navigate through to the application page. There are other interactions that fire behaviors as well, such as arriving on a page or creating a draft, which allows us to set default properties, for example. Other behaviors might be to be able to submit the draft, and to be able to create an application, or to execute an SSRS report, to be able to cause a report to be run and downloaded. So those are some of the constituents that make up a framework site. So where are we now in the life cycle of this product? It's been roughly 2 years of development, I think, that we've been actively engaged in for Framework. We've got close to half our dev team who are actively involved in building out functionality and testing it in the system. So, as we've seen, we've completed the go-live for the Botswana Mining Cadastre portal late last year, providing all the good things that Antonio talked about. We have a slew of upcoming implementations. So we have quite a few projects that are dependent on the success of us building out further functionality. We've got the project that Mike will talk about later in the Northwest Territories, which is a full multi-use permitting and licensing portal. We've got a land use activity portal for Victoria State in Australia, which is an evolution of the implementation that we initially did for them, and some of you may remember for a land manager's kiosk, which was our first foray into using the single page technology. And we've got a variety in the Middle East with the Red Sea zone, and now you can see the right to left interface I was talking about being necessary there, and various other functionality that's necessary for that, like the Kura calendar capabilities, and then a variety of cadastre and registry projects in the Caribbean, and then most recently the project that's been started for the Namibia Mining Cadastre Portal will also be leaning on this particular technology. The sorts of things and functionality that we've recently added that have gone into the Botswana portal and will be going into future portals are firstly the discussions functionality. Some may remember the discussions functionality or encountered the discussions functionality in Landfolio back office that allows you to have interactions, sort of informal interactions against a particular license or an action. This is now exposed in the portal as well, that allows for inquiries or clarifications, or in this case, account activation requests to be sent through the portal to back office staff, and that interaction allowed to infer on through the system, which is a really great addition. We saw the multi-factor authentication that's built into the system, but we also have built SAML integration so that you can bring your own identity provider and integrate it into the system so that we can lean on that. We've built payment gateway integrations. We've built I was going to say a framework within framework, but essentially a set of tooling that allows us to integrate with different payment gateways, the first of which was implemented with Paygate, which many in the room will have used for your payments on Takealot and so forth, and all sorts of other providers. It's a standard payment gateway, and we've got the ability to integrate with many others as we have in the past with Portal 2. There are various other ones in the offing, but maybe I will wrap. We are getting to the maybe can catch up some time, but what I would like to say is where are we going next with this? We've built invested a lot in this particular product. It's obviously got a great application for building out mining cadastre portals and other application portals, but it's not in itself a product. Framework is this toolkit that we have built that allows us to make Landfolio compatible web applications. Those web applications could, we can't even think of all the possibilities yet that are available. But some of them that we're considering are things such as dashboards, and I know we will be talking dashboards later, but we're building a Power BI widget soon, so we'll be able to integrate those sorts of graphical elements into the portal, until you might be able to have management dashboards through this. Focused use case interfaces. That sounds like a bit of a mouthful, but essentially Landfolio is an all things to all people type of system, which is then configured in different ways. But if you've got a particular department or a particular group of users who only need to do a few things with the Landfolio system, there's scope for an interface for them to be able to interact with Landfolio, to be able to do approvals or to see a subset of their data only, and maybe do manage a couple of small processes. From a portal perspective, I think public participation and interactions between different government different government bodies, which the Minister talked about, the necessary environmental approvals and land use approvals, which may be in a separate ministry. There's an opportunity for them to get access into the system for those approvals. And eventually, our hope, but it's some way down the line, is that we'll be able to build out interfaces that provide a back office, Landfolio back office replacement through to our system, through that API. So those are some of our visions for the future. But we welcome your ideas, your enthusiasm as to how you might want to see this technology deployed. To wrap up, I'd like to thank the many people that have been involved in building out Landfolio framework, our product team, our UI UX guru Alex, all the software engineers, and all of the quality assurance people who've worked on this. Our DevOps person, I didn't mention on here, Cameron, who's built all sorts of orchestration behind all of this, and then all the other developers and testers who've built out our API over the last few years to enable this. So thanks to all of you, and thanks to all of our prop services team making use of this, as well as our clients into the future. Thank you.